The word Advent comes from an old Latin phrase, advenire. It's very simple. It means God comes to us. God comes to us. And this speaks to the nickname that Scripture gives Jesus, that being Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. This is the point of Christmas, that God is with us. It is the gift. Everything else is wrapping, decoration, it's just packaging. God with us is the gift. And so over the next few Sundays, we're going to be exploring what are the characteristics of this gift of God with us. It is why we light the candles of Advent. You may have noticed this morning one of the characteristics of the gift of God with us, and that being hope. If you'll listen, there's a reason we do that. You can see it on the banner there. You saw it on the video played. Every year, God comes around once again, knocking on the door to our lives and asking every one of us, is there room? Is there room in the messiness of your holiday cheer, whatever the purpose of it is for you? Is there room there for me? The reason for the gift, it's something that we scoff at, that there was no room in the inn in Bethlehem. How could there be no room? Well, the question really is to all of us. In the messy Bethlehem-like stable of your heart this Christmas, and all the shopping and spending and traveling and partying and decorating and doing and going from one thing to another, is there room for the actual gift of God with us? So we go through the characteristics through this sermon series on Advent. John the Baptist gives us one word that is so profound yet simple, and it echoes throughout time, and it is prepare. The gift of Jesus was coming in Jesus' time. Jesus himself was coming. The gift was on its way. And so when John the Baptist comes on the scene, I'm sure you've heard about him, Jesus' cousin, preaching in the desert, preparing people. That was his role. To say, when he says the word repent, it really means, most preachers talk about it as turn from your sin. And it can be used like that, but it really means rethink. The word metanoia means rethink. He's saying to everyone, y'all need to rethink your view of what is supposed to come, your ideas of heaven, and prepare your hearts to receive this. So the passage I want to read is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 3. Luke and Matthew explain John the Baptist in the same way. Like, this is who he was, this is what he was doing. It reads, this is verse 4 of chapter 3 in Luke. As it is written in the words and book of Isaiah the prophet, quote, so this is from the prophet Isaiah, this is who John the Baptist is. A voice of one calling in the desert, prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight paths for him. This is the word of the Lord for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God. Amen. Just a verse later, it says, every valley shall be filled in, and every mountain shall be made low. It's a great image of preparation that we'll be using throughout the next 15, 20 minutes. It's a vision of preparing a highway in a desert. If you've ever seen a road made, you see the construction crews doing just that. They take the low spots and they fill it in, and they take the high spots and they bring them down so that the road can be nice and straight, so that whoever is traveling can get from point A to point B with less cumbrance. And this is what John the Baptist was saying to the people. You have things in the way of receiving. You need to make a highway. This is what preparing is. You have some high places that need to be brought low. You have some low places that need to be brought up so that you can prepare for the gift coming your way. And the same word is coming to us all. Here we are, December 3rd, I believe. Christmas is on the horizon, Christmas Day, and it's coming. The gift will come to all of us once again. This is the first way to really prepare your heart to receive, is to understand that the gift of Christmas, the Advent, is not bound by time. It is something that was historical, there's no doubt. It happened, Jesus came. But just as John the Baptist spoke, he was speaking of something that was coming in the future. And Scripture, no doubt, speak to people that were not yet to be. It is something that is historically, let's say, ubiquitous. It did happen in the past, but it does and will happen in the future. Christ will come again, but more to the point for us now, stuck at the end of 2023, God comes to us even now. And so preparing for it now is an important part of it. It is our gift. Billions testify to this, that they've experienced Jesus coming to them. And it can happen for you and I too this Christmas. So what does it mean then to prepare, to lower the high places? Let's start there. I think the real meat of the sermon might be in getting to the low places. But what does it mean to lower the high places for you in your preparation? Well, you may say in your heart, as I say, the gift of Christ is offered to you once again. Are you preparing to receive it in all of your holiday frivolity? And that may push on you a little bit because you have things to do. After all, you've already received the gift of Jesus. You know the date, the pastor who was there, you remember the hour, you remember the feeling you had in your leg right before you went down the aisle. You already have the gift of Jesus. Why do you need to stop and prepare and receive the gift once again? Well, precisely because the gift is historically ubiquitous. It's not bound to one place and time. And what you needed from Jesus at that particular age is going to be different than what you're going to need from Jesus at another age. When I was 16, what I needed was direction to find my way to becoming an independent person, not, to get out of the Neanderthal phase of my life, maybe graduate to like Piltdown Man or something, to maybe one day become, humanoid. We'll see. But now, that's not what I need. I mean, my knuckles aren't dragging the ground anymore. I'm not completely standing as straight as I'd like to, but I'm not who I was. So full disclosure, the 27th, I will turn 5.0. That's it. And so now that I'm let's say halfway home, I don't need what I needed when I was 16. What I need now is to not get too freaked out that I'm at the top of the hill and I can see all the way down on the other side and I'm like, oh my Lord, that's what's coming? What I need is to pace myself. I still have some life to live. And I've heard from people down the hill, hey man, it's actually not so bad down here. Come on, it's downhill. Remember all that uphill you've been doing? And hey, you can still have, the 70's the new 50, they tell me. I don't know. But they're definitely saying that they're like, we experienced Jesus in a very different way than we did when we were 50. It's all about the season of your life. Maybe you have that high place. I received him once. What do I got to receive him again for? I get that. But he's knocking. In the middle of all the parties and the shopping and the traveling, he's knocking. And the truth is, your culture is going to push you to go to that high place of having too much to do, rather than reflecting again, well, how do I prepare? How do I slow down, quiet myself for just a second, not be so addicted to hurry and busy and find a way to lower the high place so that the gift can come into my life. How do I do that? Culture is pushing you. Last year, for the last 3 years, the average that the United States has spent, if you don't know, just on gift giving. This is what we think Christmas is all about. Gift giving, right? Giving's the reason for the season. Most people say, if you ask the usual street goer, and everyone knows that every kiss begins with K, because giving is the reason. And so over $800 billion with a B dollars was spent on average over the last 3 years, each year. That is, to give you some context of how much money that is 3% of the average annual income in a household. So in other words, you take some single person makes about $60,000 a year. That's $2,000 spent. Now, to be fair, close to a quarter is spent on decorations, but the vast majority just gift giving. In fact, so much gift giving that last year, $200 billion was returned, just returned. Now, on one hand, this is it's a little exciting because there is no other event in history ever on the history of the planet that people spend more money in celebration of. There's actually no other event that has more art inspired in celebration of, by way of paintings, songs, etc., poems. But on the other hand, it says what it is we think that the holiday is all about. We think it's about gift giving. Do you know that amount, 3% of your annual income, is more than the average person gives to the church throughout the year? What we spend on each other, which is basically like our second birthday, right? We get another gift. So the amount of money we spend on everyone's second birthday, when it's really someone else's birthday, is more than what we give on average. I know some of you do give more, but on average, more than what most people give to the church during the year. We think it's about giving when actually it's actually the 180-degree opposite. As the people were hearing from John the Baptist, something's coming your way. Something's coming your way. And you're going to be blessed by it. You're going to be able to hope again. You're going to be able to have joy again. You're going to be able to exchange love with one another again. You're going to be able to have peace like you once had it again. As John the Baptist was preparing people to receive, as the shepherds were hearing from the angels the gift that was given, as Mary was beholding the mystery in the eyes of eternity laying in that baby, all the world could do was receive. There was nothing in the story about our philanthropy or our ability to give. Now, two disclaimers. One, I'm not saying I'm against gift giving, okay? To be specific, if you're out shopping for a gift for me, go all the way. I'm also not saying that giving is bad. Of course, the charity act of giving is something you and I, inspired by Jesus, are doing all year long. It shouldn't be something we tithe at the end of the year. Okay, now we're going to give. Something we do all year long so that this time of year we get to pause and prepare our hearts to receive again so that we can step into another year and get back into giving. It's not about giving. It is about receiving. What is preventing it from you? The high place, you're totally into going. You need to bring that down a little bit. Or maybe it's a low place. When John the Baptist is the one coming from the wilderness, this was something that his contemporaries totally got, I think, the meaning of. They remembered their time in the wilderness and how hard it was to travel long distance from one place to another because of the low and high places and needing a road. But they also remember having nothing. Okay? So no home to go to at the end of the day. No warm shower and soft bed and fuzzy slippers, whatever it is you do at the end of the day. No farm behind the house to cultivate when they have a day off. Nothing. They had only one thing in that low place. A path that God had given them. But it was in the midst of traveling that path, when they were at what seemed to be their lowest, having nothing, is when they learned better than ever that God was up to something in that path. Knowing that you have a path to some preferred future and that God is the one guiding you there will lift up your hearts, elevate the levels of hope. When you are at a low point A and you sense God leading you to a point B and the path that is higher, that is preferred, and only God knows the way, you will then experience the gift of Christmas. You will then experience the idea. You will then understand what Emmanuel meant to the people. You will then know what it means in the phrase, God with us. Because only God knows the way from A to B. And maybe you're in a low place, and as you look forward, it is hard to hope. Hope is a characteristic that is hard to come by because something going on, I don't know where, something going on in your family. And you're looking down the road, and it's hard to really be hopeful. Well, imagine if God had a path that could turn that situation into a preferred future. Would that be a place where you would like God to be with you? Or maybe it's not in your family, maybe it's in your health, and you don't know the path, but you know someone who does. Or maybe it's in your habits, and you're looking down the road, and you know based on those habits, things are not going to go well, and you'd rather be engaged in healthy hobbies, but you don't know how to path to do it. But someone does know the path. Or maybe it's in your relationships. I don't know what it is. Some category of your life may make it hard for you to be hopeful. Hopeful is simply looking into your future with an expectation, like you want to be there. You can't wait to be there. What do you think inspired the songs and psalms of ancient Israel? Why do we open the Bible of an agrarian society who are walking around in the desert and read about them being hopeful? It's because they had a path. When it seemed like they were at their lowest, God was up to something. Jeremiah would speak of this when he gives us the very reason for the tradition of the Christmas tree. Jeremiah would prophesy of a righteous branch. If you were listening to the Advent reading, the youth told us about it. Ancient Israel looked like a stump, Jeremiah says. They had sort of walked their way out of the path for a season. God had given them the path. They walked their way out. They wanted the high places of the world around them, the culture that was going on around them. Everything that the nations around them had, that's what they wanted. So they walked off the path for a little bit. And when you walk off the path that God gave you, you walk outside of God's provision and protection. And so other kingdoms came in and chopped them down. You think chasing after the high places in our world and our culture is going to be better for you, but most of you have probably lived long enough to know every time you've chased after whatever it is the world has to offer, some high place, it has not left you feeling better. It has not left you feeling more hopeful or more joyful or more full of peace or more full of love. Has it left you feeling more like a stump? This is what Jeremiah was saying. Ancient Israel looked like a stump, but one day Again, looking into the future, looking into Emmanuel, God with us in Jesus. One day there will be a righteous branch that shoots out of the stump. This is why we erect Christmas trees in our homes. It is the righteous branch. It is the eternal green of hope, the hope that springs eternal when it seems like all we have in our life is a stump. That is the point of a tree. Not an argument to get into because you can't decide whether to make it Ole Miss themed or LSU themed. It is prophetical. It is about hope springing eternal in your life. There's reason to hope even in the low places. Maybe you've put your hope not in Emmanuel, God with you, providing a path, but you put it in a person one day. You gave the resume to Jesus to another person in your life, which you should never do. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you because it's not going to work out for either of you. No one else in your life is the perfect Messiah, but you put your hope in another person. It stands to reason you got disappointed. Maybe you went to a low place of putting your hope in some amount of money. And when you got there, it was not mo money, mo problems. Jim Carrey and Mike Tyson both say something like this. They will both say, I wish everyone could become rich and live the exact life that they want, because then they would know there's nothing there. Maybe you put your hope in money. Maybe you put your hope in a season of life. And you're there and it's not what you thought it was. Or now you're past it and you just keep looking back. You can't look forward because you're 50 and all you want is to be 40. Is there nothing hopeful in 60? I'm claiming there is. I'm claiming Emmanuel, God with me on the way. Or maybe it's some job or some other future. Either way, some disappointment. And disappointment became the doorway of finding the gift of God with us. It's a good question. Why does hope come the hard way? Why do we have to be in a desert and low to sense the importance of a path? Well, would you receive it any other way? If things were just great and perfect and just how you wanted, what would you need from God? It's a gift, and it's for all of us. A reason to hope. God is giving us all a path. Once again, imagine the hardest thing somewhere in your life. And then imagine God with you there. Some path to a preferred future in the worst patch that you're going through. Could you use that? I would invite you to open up your heart to the real reason this year. So many ways you can do it. One, as you're erecting your tree in your house, as you're decorating it, think of the righteous branch. Think of hope that springs eternal. No matter the stump in some area of your life, imagine this. As ancient Israel, this is what the prophets were saying. The life of the tree is not always seen above ground. Quite often, the real jazzy stuff is going on underneath the dirt, in the roots, and something could spring up. In that place in your life that just looks like a stump, or you feel it being chopped down right now. It hasn't quite gone down, but you feel it being chopped. Something can be happening underneath the ground, and hope could spring eternal even there. Talk to your kids as you're putting up the tree. Do you know why we do this? No. Why? Because it's pretty? Because it smells good? Yes, all that. But do you know really why? Why? Because of the righteous branch. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Emmanuel. What's Emmanuel? It's God with us. What does that mean? It means we always have something to hope for because God will always provide a path. That's not hard to say. If you can't do it, if you've already done that, you've already missed your chance, then go out at some point and add Emmanuel to your decorating. Find it somewhere. If you can't find it in Walmart or whatever store you go to, the name that will not be named, then order it online. Order something about Emmanuel and put it somewhere in your house. What does this mean? What is Emmanuel? You know what it means now. So do that. Or, how do I prepare? I don't know how to prepare. What do? I've already raised my tree. I got Emmanuel somewhere in my house. What else can I do? Have you downloaded the YouVersion app? There are plenty of Advent online devotions that you can read. Or devotions on Emmanuel, God with us. Prepare in some way to receive. The gift is coming your way of hope that could spring eternal. So ask yourself one of these questions sometime today as we begin receiving the very gift that was given to us. Number one, how do you prepare? How do you prepare? If this is not how you prepare for the gift, how do you do it? If focusing on Emmanuel and the hope that is to come is not how you prepare, how do you do it? What are you preparing for? In your preparation, is it more about gift giving or gift receiving? Or two, if hope comes the hard way, where are you? Are you going through something hard and could receive hope there? Or are you avoiding that hard season? Hope wants to get to you, but it wants to get to you through something you don't want to do. Maybe the magic of Christmas that you're looking for is the hard thing that God's calling you to that you're avoiding. If hope comes the hard way, how's that going for you? Where are you? Are you keeping your life so on high places that the hope of a path from God just can't get to you? Do you need to raise the low place or lower the high place? Let's put it that way. Or finally, from 1 to 10, I'm really asking, how are you doing on hope? From 1 to 10, are your best days behind you or ahead of you? If hopeful is 10, if totally jacked up in hopefulness, hope springs eternal, you already got it, Emmanuel's with you, you're walking with him, you got it, you're going to continue to ask for it, you're telling other people about it. If you're a 10, if lacking hope is a 1, you look down the road, and not only are you squinting, but you don't even want to look there. You don't want to look 5 years down the road. You don't want to look 3 years down the road. You don't want to look 1 year down the road. You don't even want to look at next month. Where are you? Are you hopeful 10 or totally unhopeful 1 or somewhere in between? What's your number? And then offer that to God. That may help you gauge whether you have a high place or a low place. Receive that. Receive it. The season is about receiving. On the night in which Christ gave himself for us,